G'day and welcome back to the Great Southern Ancient Miniature Man channel. This is the second review or second part of the showcase really of the Resin Warfare Echoes of the Punic War range, which I did initial one about a week ago. I have worked extensively on them ever since, and I thought I need to really show off some of the ones I've done and give you more of my impressions of what a superb line of miniatures this is. I made the comment earlier that it's amazing that it's such an extensive range all released at once. The entire Punic Wars plus the Pyrrhic Wars all in one foul swoop. All created by Carlos A. Mariani, who is the owner of the company. Him and his wife, family business. She does a lot of the painting. He does almost all of sculpting. And amazing output to have produced something like 500 individual figures in this series. But then he's done the rise of the Shah, sort of Persian Sassanid series, and earlier Roman ones and later Roman ones as well. And he's also working on another project soon, which I'll tell you a bit more about in a minute. I'll just go through some of these figures that I've worked on. So this is Maharbal, the Numidian cavalry commander in the Second Punic War. He was, from what I've read, he's probably actually Carthaginian rather than Numidian, but anyway, the model shows him as a Numidian, so I've painted him in that way. A beautiful figure, very dynamic, very cool. I love the lion pelt. They always look fantastic, and I had a lot of fun painting him up. I'll put some still photos of all these guys up at the end, as I usually do. Let's go on to another Carthaginian. So this is Hasdrubal Gisco, not to be confused with Hasdrubal Barca. This guy came to prominence in the Second Punic War as well. He was deployed to Iberia, sort of midway through the Second Punic War, 214 BC in fact. He was involved in the battles that killed both of the older Scipio brothers, and later joined with Margo Barca. Ended up eventually being defeated by the younger Scipio, who went on to be called Scipio Africanus, at the Battle of Ilipa, quite a famous battle in the Second Punic War in Iberia. From there he went back to North Africa. He was involved in recruiting the Western Numidians under Syphax to the Carthaginian cause, but was defeated by Scipio Africanus once again in North Africa, and went back to Carthage, where the fate of defeated commanders was not a good one. Fearing for some sort of grisly execution, he ended up committing suicide in 202 BC. Once again, superb figure, very full of life and character at this point. And again, a joy to paint. The proportions are excellent, the musculature is excellent, all the features are excellent. There's very little requiring cleanup on these guys. Just a few little bits of the resin that got to be clipped away, I've found, but that's about it. Actually, while I'm on the... Oh, let's carry on, yeah. Next guy. Now, this dude would be Hippocrates of Syracuse, not to be confused with Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, different guy. So this, you might be aware, interesting part of the Second Punic War is the Role of Syracuse. So initially, in the First Punic War, didn't know what to do. They sided with Carthage, but then the Romans besieged them and eventually converted them to the Roman cause under Hiero II, and he remained the king there for quite a long period, and throughout his entire reign they remained loyal allies of Rome. But he died in 215 BC, leaving Hieronymus, his 15-year-old grandson, on the throne, who was less committed to Rome, looked around at options, wondered whether they were better off siding with the Carthaginians, and at this point Carthage was doing pretty well in the Second Punic War. But there are a couple other characters around this guy, Hippocrates and Epicides, who actually the Resin Warfare guys make as well. They were magistrates. Hieronymus was unfortunately assassinated 214 BC, which gave Hippocrates and Epicides the command really of Syracuse. They allied with Carthage which was a fateful mistake really, and went off and plundered local areas, but then came across this guy, commander of the Syracusan division of the Roman army. That's Marcus Claudius Marcellus, who was quite a famous commander, had some great victories in Italy before moving to Syracuse. He is depicted there with his foot on the head of a Gallic chief who he killed in single hand-to-hand combat, received the Spolia Optima for such an achievement, and he was apparently a very capable and renowned general. So he defeated the forces of Hippocrates and Epictetus, drove them away to the west, and then besieged Syracuse, which again was a pretty famous siege. Syracuse was an amazingly well fortified place, and the mathematician and inventor Archimedes was a key figure there in preparing them. Also, under Dionysus, some years prior, he had been very proactive, I guess, in developing new technologies, and really Syracuse was the first place to develop catapults and siege engines. And one of them was this sort of handheld crossbow device, a gastrophetes, which was used, gastrobit meaning stomach, had the sort of stock there that they leaned on, and then with both hands pulled the string up with a series of ratchets. They could get up to the top, and then there was a little release trigger, metal one here, which obviously then fire the bolt, and it could fire it with about 2 to 3 times as much power as a good longbow or a good powerful handheld bow at the time. So it was an impressive device, but very slow to use, so it was largely only used in sieges. Anyhow, I won't go on too much about the siege of Syracuse. That was a pretty epic contest, except to say that towards the end of it, this guy came back along with a Carthaginian force, and after the Romans had stormed Syracuse and occupied most of it, then they themselves got surrounded by the Syracusans and the Carthaginians, the upshot was that the Carthaginians and the Syracusans lost substantially, mostly because of a plague that swept through their camp, and in fact killed poor old Hippocrates there, possibly typhus. Himilco was the Carthaginian commander who accompanied him. They both died of the same plague southwest of the city of Syracuse. Sad end for them. You should have stuck to medicine. Now a couple other guys I want to show. This guy, yeah, I love him. He's fantastic. I've got a few of them, so I'm going to paint up a few more. But such a cool figure. I've never seen a model of that early siege weapon before. Who else we got? Next one up would be this Garamantian, so from North Africa, from Garama, city of, inland, and again just full of character and life and expression, and great pose, beautiful figure, sort of bamboo kind of spears with, I don't know if they were a stone head or a metal head, but they look fabulous. And I've done the cowhide sort of shield there, which I'm pretty happy with the look of. And just to round it out, a few few Celtic dudes who Hannibal might have picked up on his crossing over the Alps, or might have fought against the Romans in their time of danger from the Cisalpine Gauls. Yet again, full of movement, motion, beautiful proportions. They're really nice. I mean, I think my favourite manufacturer is probably still V&V, but these guys are very close to them in my estimation. They're fantastic. They the other advantage of these is there's negligible assembly needed. Like some of them, like these command figures, there's zero assembly. some, like for these guys, the shields and hand is separate and the sword and hand are separate. So all you have to do is glue them on, and in fact that gives you the option to pose them in some different ways. So if you don't like assembly much, then these are a great option. And the scale, as I said on the earlier video, very compatible with Victrix sort of scale. These guys are probably a couple of % bigger, but not an appreciable difference really. So the other thing to mention, was that Carlos is working on the next major release, which will have 600 figures. It's going to be the Age of Alexander, and so we'll cover the Macedonian army and some of the successor armies, such as the Seleucids and the Ptolemies, and also their major opponents, so the Achaemenid Persian Empire, Indians, and even Scythians. So that's a big gap in the market, lack of Scythians out there, so that'll be awesome. I think he said the Kickstarter might begin in October, so not all that far away, so keep an eye out for them. The sad news is that Potbelly in New Zealand isn't in business anymore, certainly not producing these guys, and there's only 2 other companies apparently in the world that are you can get them from, one in the US and one in the UK at the moment. So hopefully they'll become a bit more broadly available. But if you've got your own 3D printer, then you can get the files and print off as many as your heart desires. Anyway, I hope you like these guys, and certainly see if you can get hold of them. They're absolutely superb. I'm going to put up some still photos as usual, and I will be back soon with another Great Southern Ancient video. See ya.